evening. It's nice to see some of you here tonight. Can you hear me?
No.
Oh, that's because my mic's
Not on. You might be better off if you can't hear me.
You said it, none of us.
Oh, Rita. At any rate, I'm glad to see you tonight. The questionnaire was something that I made on my own, okay? I ran it off, I paid for it. I also paid for the pens, so we're not spending any of the city's money while we're sitting here, other than the fact that Samantha is going to take notes. And you don't have to sign those things if you don't want to, because it's, I just want to get your feelings about some of the things that will be coming up for budget. Now, next Monday and Tuesday, the 24th and the 25th of June, at 6 o'clock, we will be doing the budget for the coming year. So, I had asked the city manager to put out which budgets we're going to be discussing on each day. In addition to that, they are workshops, and in the past, workshops were not public hearings. In other words, the public could not speak, but we're not going to do that this year. I think they might have changed it last year, but I'm not sure.
They did.
But they had the budget hearings out at the Public Works building, where half the people don't know where that is. So this year we're having them here so that you know where they are. And we want public input because it's going to be your money that we will be discussing and that we will be spending. And so we have to hear from you, otherwise we don't know. I should say at the very beginning that the undesignated reserve, which is what the city has in reserve for emergency, okay? In 2005, when we had Hurricane Wilma hit the city had $33 million in reserve. This year, the city has $7 million in reserve because former commissions have siphoned off that money to balance the budget or to cut taxes or to do whatever. So there will be a big problem this year in trying to build up the undesignated reserve. Because God forbid we should have a hurricane, we don't have very much money to deal with it. So here we are tonight, and I handed out that survey simply because I would like to get your feelings about some of the things that we're doing in the city. I have I'm from Philadelphia originally. I've lived in Deerfield 55 years. I was mayor from 1980 to 1993. The city's changed a lot. When my late husband and I came, the population was 2,500. We now have 75,000 people in the city. When I left the office of mayor, there were approximately 35,000 people in Deerfield, okay? So we've expanded. Times have changed and things have changed. I know that I have a reputation for interfering. I call it solving problems because I get a lot of problems at my office upstairs. So this is why we're here tonight, because I want to hear from you as to what you would like to see us do with this budget this year. And you can just step over there, give us your name, and because Samantha's going to be taking notes, so that I have a history of the problems that were presented at this hearing, okay? Yeah. Yes, right there. Is that on, is the mic on there?
Now it's on.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Dottie Gross, and I come here with my friend Naomi Reddish from Century Village here in Deerfield. And this does not concern the budget, but it concerns a real problem. And we represent the people who are handicapped in Century Village. That would be the people who are in wheelchairs, who are on electric carts, some people with walkers. There is something new happening in the village, and that is that all the pools are being gated. And they have been gated by a company called Bay Management. And this has eliminated the possibility, the way these gates have been made, for any handicapped person to get into the pool area. And they are the people who need the pools most desperately. I go to visit the sick, and so does Naomi, and we have had numerous appeals from these people. First of all, this is against the federal law, this is against the state law, this is against the handicapping laws. So I spoke today to one of the managers from Cookby, and he tells me that these gates have been built in accordance with the city code, and they are trying to get the city code changed. I appeal to the city. I don't know what you can do. I'll give you my phone number to write down.
Please repeat it unless you want everybody else to call you, but if you give it down, we'll call you.
It's 954-725-8597. And I would appreciate it if someone would call me and let me know if something can be done at this level, or I'll have to go higher, because you cannot leave these poor people without the use of the pool, which is one of their mainstays. And the way those pool areas are gated, it is hard for any normal person, especially people who are elderly, to get in, let alone handicapped people who cannot stand up to get into the pool. So some provision has to be made.
I promise you that tomorrow, when I come back from my 9 o'clock appointment tomorrow morning, I will look into it, and you will get a call from me, because I call everybody.
Thank you
Okay?
very much.
You're welcome. Anybody want to speak, please come up, that's what we're here for.
Rita Massey, 19th Avenue. I have a question to you about the $33 million that we spent when we were hit with Wilma. Did FEMA reimburse us any of those funds?
We ended up the next year with 29 million, because FEMA paid back some of the money that we had. But it's been dwindling, because I looked it up. I wanted to know from 2005 to the present just how much money we have. And in 2009, when the present commission, not mine, but the one that came before me, got into office, there was $13 million in the undesignated reserve. But since 2009 to 2013, it has dwindled to approximately $7 million. We're in bad shape financially. I mean, when the commission decided to go ahead and lower the millage and put in the 10% utility tax so they might look good at election, it really killed us. Because the money that they raised with the utility tax totaled $6.2 million. They should have shoved that right into the reserve, but they didn't. They used 4.6 million. I don't know whether you're interested in the figures, but they used 4.6 million of that to reduce the millage by 1 mil. And that should not have happened. At any rate, yes.
But, by the same token, if God forbid we had another hurricane, would not FEMA step up to the plate and help us out?
Well, we have to upfront the money first, and then FEMA reimbursed you if they feel as though you spent the money wisely. But for example, FEMA went after us because there were a lot of things that were done during the Hurricane Wilma that were not kosher, if I could use that expression, okay? And so therefore they refused to pay. So that's the problem. In order for us to survive a hurricane, we have to upfront the money. And if you don't have it, you can't spend it, okay? Thank you. Come on, I'm here. I want to hear from you. That's why I'm here. I want to say this about the budget, though. This past year, the youth programs got shortchanged. And I have 6 kids and 11 grandchildren, and that's not going to happen in this budget. This budget is going to provide for Little League, it's going to provide for Packer Rattlers, it's going to provide for all those kids that have to enjoy the sports, because that's a good thing for children. It keeps them off the streets, it keeps them occupied, it gives them a spirit of social, work. And so therefore then I'm sorry, you wanted to talk, and I'm talking right past you. Okay, which is my habit. Okay. Your name and address for the record.
Anthony Dispensary, 1212 Southeast 10th Terrace. Good evening, Mayor. Thanks for having us. I've spoken a couple of times at commission meetings regarding street paving and also
Now you want us to
dredging.
pave your streets again.
Well, not mine specifically. I think in general, a lot of the areas, especially in the eastern side, look like they're significantly deteriorated from the last time that we paved. And And I think I understand that money is tight, and, you know, this year may not necessarily be the right time to do so, but there are some significant areas where it's deteriorated to a point where it really needs to be considered. And I think in a larger sense, I know you've spoken about city beautification and making this, you know, a desirable place to live, certainly with a more desirable place to live, increasing property values, things of that sort. And I think these types of projects are the areas where we can say we're really putting money forth from the city to do these types of objectives and increase people's property values and make the city a more beautiful place to live. You know, paving streets and dredging canals so that boats can navigate through them, I think are important areas. And I know you've expressed concern with regard to the Kingfisher specifically, but also I live on the Kingfisher. However, I know that there are other canals as well that are rather low, and I know that the Kingfisher is obviously the longest one. And it personally concerns me that I can stand in the Kingfisher Canal on solid ground in parts of the year. But that aside, I mean, you had a dredging program, I guess, when you had been mayor, which you've spoken about in the past.
Seems like so long ago, really, but we did have a dredging program when I was mayor in the 1980s. We had allocated X number of dollars and we dredged the canals. For some reason, that was discontinued. You know, the excuse, and I hate hearing it, every time somebody asks for something, the answer is, we don't have any money. Well, we're gonna have to find the money this time to make sure that these things are taken care of, including, as I see Amy Tanner sitting there, the Historical Society. Now, last night I said that their budget was cut. They got a lousy $10,000, okay, last year from this city. Nothing's more important than the history of the city. I mean, how many people are you finished?
Okay,
Thank you. How many of you realize that in the 1978s and 80s, this was strictly an agricultural community? My late husband got paid in green peppers, tomatoes, and green beans from the workers. The British West Indies workers came in to pick the crops in Deerfield. And I know because we took care of them in the office, they all talked like Winston Churchill. And they really were amazing workers. So I'm telling you that the city has changed because a lot of the agricultural part is gone. And the development isn't really there. There isn't much left to develop. And that's why it's important. It's really important that we realize now that we have very little green space left. And I know there was a concern about developing the Deerfield Country Club, but the residents next to it decided that they need it done. Are you coming to drop that off, or are you coming to speak?
To speak,
Yes, sir.
if I may.
Yes, you may, and your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Fred Foreman, AKA the Handsome One, 1752. Hold it down in the audience, please. I forgot my address to suffer from half my verse. 1752, Southwest 19th Ave, Deerfield Beach, 33442-6135. This is a dumb question, but you gotta remember, I'm 82 and I'm old.
Careful. Let's not compare ages, friends.
Let's put it this way. I'm very frail, very frail.
He's also full of malarkey.
Yeah, right.
That's his wife, that's okay.
Mama, here comes my darling bride of 58 years. I made a mistake, but I stayed with her. Anyhow, what do we have to do? I sit here on these meetings, what have you, and I see all of the turbulence going on. What do we have to do to get a stronger mayor centralized government? If we have 4 districts and they each get elected within their districts, and we have a mayor that gets elected by the community, can you have 4 votes on every issue?
I like it, but no, I don't think so.
Is there a way we can get some strength so that we can move forward on items that the people want rather than what the manager wants, okay?
Well, you see, we have a manager form of government, and frankly.
Well, he ain't doing a good job, because I have written so many of your people, and this really me angry. I don't get any answers. I've written to Mr. Hanson, and I gave Mr. Gantz several copies of emails, etc. I've written to the engineer guy, DeBrusco, and get no answers. I've written several, and I understand the reason that Ada hasn't answered is because she's been ill, etc., etc. But I've got a serious issue down in District 3 on Military Trail that has been studied by the city and the county, and they've sent in report after report that it's a heavily traveled roadway now, particularly since the opening of
Walmart.
Wiles Road. In addition, Walmart neighborhood grocery store recently. And then, well, I guess almost 2 years ago now, Military Trail going south went all the way down to Atlantic Boulevard. All of that has changed our traffic flow in the Green Road, Military Trail area, all the way Military from 10th Street down to Green Road. Recently had a motorcycle accident where another person was killed. BSO did a study, the county has done a study, and have come back with those beautiful charts saying, do you people realize you have a serious speeding problem here on Military Trail? Yeah, what the hell do you think we've been telling you for 3 years? And I don't get any movement. The best I've been able to get in 3 years, and I know I'm handsome, suave, debonair, and glib, but in 3 years, the only thing I've been able to get from the city and the county, or whoever it's supposed to do it, is 2 road signs saying, there be ahead of you an intersecting street. But no crosswalk going into the church, no sidewalks, no traffic light at Southwest 15th Street.
Where did you want the traffic light, Ray? Where did you want?
Well, I think absolutely there has to be a, like, I don't know what you call this thing, motion detecting traffic light at Southwest 15th Street and Military Trail, because it is truly 2 roadways intersecting, and there are large numbers of residents coming out from 15th Street, both east and west. So I think there's no question, but a traffic light is definitely needed at Southwest 15th Street. But there's also need for a crosswalk over to Our Lady of Mercy Catholic Church and across the street. It's opposing private driveways coming into Military Trail versus a street crossing over. So I don't know if you can get a traffic light, but certainly a crosswalk, sign saying old folks trying to cross the street, maybe a flashing yellow light. And I know they're only a short distance apart, but you have to realize one thing, and that is we just last year completed a several $million-dollar road improvement program on Military Trail just at Hillsborough Boulevard, and maybe 35 yards south of Hillsborough Boulevard on Military Trail. They took down 6 traffic lights, 3 going north and 3 going south. No intersecting highway, no crosswalk, just made it a crosswalk because it would be more convenient for people to cross from this side of the road, this side of the road. And yes, there are 2 malls on the other side of the street, but when they did the traffic improvement, and I have been talking, like I said, 3 years on this issue, they go up there and they widen the street, Military Trail. They put 4 brand new, and they tell me $120,000 a traffic light. 120, that's, in 4 traffic lights, that's $500,000 right there.
They used to cost $40,000 before.
When I got into this, it was 75, 80? 80. My darling bride, she corrects me all the time, she corrects me. But $80,000, now it's 120. But what do you have to do in the city to get that? For the safety of the citizens. And I've begged, I've cajoled, I've had meetings at the clubhouse, I've gone to their places of business, and I'm getting absolutely no. The last time around, our chief engineer said, yes, we'll take this under advisement. That's a typical answer from the city manager. We'll take that under advisement. whatever I complain about, so we'll take it under advisement, and nothing gets done.
The problem is they spend more money studying stuff than they do fixing it. That's the problem.
The specifications that he sent in the copy of the letter that I got to the county speaks volumes. We want sample, and I know there are a lot of different places in the village, in Deerfield Beach, that need traffic, calming, traffic lights, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But in his words, in the letter to the county, he's asking for a whole bunch of studies. And I sent him, never got an answer, sent him a note saying, I think we've had enough studies over 3 years, and the most recent one done by BSO saying, you folks have a serious speeding problem. Now we've got a death. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I once was told you have to have 3 people killed at an intersection in a calendar year in order to qualify for a light.
That's why Joe Theismann's death didn't qualify. It took him 2 years to die.
Well, I put a notice up on the bulletin board looking for volunteers and no one signed up. Thank you, I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
No, actually, Joe Theismann, who was the quarterback for Notre Dame, that's why I know, his father lived in the Meadows, and he was struck at one of those intersections, and he ended up in some kind of home, didn't he? It took him 2 years before he actually died.
They wouldn't count it.
So they wouldn't count him because they said he didn't die within the year.
He didn't die fast enough.
But Joe Theismann, the father, had a problem because he'd look at me and say, hey, George Foreman, how are you?
I don't know if I can compete, but anyway, I'm Nancy Foreman.
Give it a try.
I live at 1752 Southwest 19th Avenue,
Thank you.
Deerfield. Oh! Excuse me, Deerfield Beach, Florida. And I just have a question. I know that we are having a money problem, and which so many people do have. And I'm wondering how we can go about fixing the money problem. Now I have another question saying, I know that Deerfield Beach is a bigger city than it was, but how many assistants do we need to help the person that is there supposedly to do the work? Maybe if we had fewer assistants, then the person would be able to do the job that he or she was assigned to. And this is the thing that concerns me. I'm thinking, you know, we did not particularly care for the 10% utility tax. We let our feelings be known. Didn't really make any difference, but we had our feelings known. Now they're still saying we don't have enough money. I don't know exactly what happened to that money, and I'd like to know. If anybody has an answer for me, I would love to know what it is. Thank you.
They raised $6,200,000 with the 10% utility tax. Of that, $4.6 million was used to lower the millage rate by 1 mil.
Then the millage rate should have stayed the same, because that is, in my humble opinion, that is more equitable.
It should have stayed the same, and the money they raised should have gone into the undesignated reserve, but it did not. Okay, so that's the problem.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to be heard? That's what I'm here for. Let's talk.
Traffic jams, we need to talk, sir.
If you finish those surveys, just leave them in the box.
Yeah, John Grassi, 1001 Southeast 12th Terrace, Deerfield Beach, Florida. Talking about the budget, what I'd like to see is actually us go back to a line-by-line budget instead of the performance-based budget that they're giving us, the people. And I think it's the last 3 years, basically, we've received a performance-based where we can't see everything line by line. So that's what I'd like to see changed, so that we could really get back down to the bottom of everything and compare it.
No, but we have to ask you something about that, because he said we have a performance kind of budget rather than a line by line. Okay, yes, sir. Your name and address for the record.
My name is Andrew Jones. I live at 1730 Northwest 66
Andrew.
area. Yes, ma'am, I am.
You were in charge of storm water for the
Yes, ma'am,
city,
I
and they
was.
eliminated your job.
Yes, ma'am, they did.
Yes.
Anyway, I just want to say, because I watch the meetings and stuff like that at home, because, you know, man, I don't want to come out here and get into an argument with the residents and thing like that because I most of was here to serve the residents. But when we were speaking of, when you all be speaking of Kingfisher Canal, I just want to clarify a couple of things. One of the things I want to clarify that when I came to this city here as supervisor for the stormwater division, I had 3 goals. My 3 goals was I found out that this city did not have a stormwater fee. I wanted to implement a stormwater fee here. I worked with Chad. I worked with Jimmy Graham at the time to try to get a stormwater fee here in the city. Also, one of the things I wanted to do was to implement a GPS program for all our storm drains and stuff that we had in the city here because during those times, I think it was like Hurricane Katrina and I think Irene or something like that was a hurricane at the time. And I seen that there was a lot of places that was in this city here that didn't have proper drainage. And what I tried to do was like Robinson Road, over here on First Way, places like that. Study those places there and try to come up with a plan that would eliminate some of the drainage in the area, especially over in the, I guess that would be the northwest area over there, by the park over there. But anyway, and my 3rd goal was, when I came here, was to get a waterway cleanup program in the city here. Because why? I came from the city of Oakland Park. And working closely with the county in the city of Oakland Park, once a year they would have what they call waterway cleanup. And what it would do is most municipalities would have some of their employees volunteer, come out, put them in boats, go around in the areas there, clean out the canals and stuff like that, take all this stuff, bring it on shore there. They would have trucks and stuff that would haul it out. And then at the end of that day, while we was cleaning up the canal, everybody would go down the tugboat and then they have little parties and stuff like that for all the volunteers, food and stuff like that. But while me trying to do that in the city here, I came up against a couple of obstacles. One of them you spoke of, they always claimed that they didn't have money for things. We did get that Kingfisher Canal, even though people saying that it wasn't dredged. Kingfisher Canal was dredged in 2010. I saw to that deal. But we only had enough money to go down maybe about 3 feet in Kingfisher Canal at that particular time in 2010. And while we was dredging the Kingfisher Canal, because we know that they had a 72-inch line that was coming off a federal highway that was bringing trash and stuff into the canal there. So what we did was we put a footer down there along with some aluminum sheeting to try and keep the water, the sand from behind the seawall from washing out. But one thing I come to realize is that no matter how successful I wanted to be and make my mark in the city, I always had one thing going against me. And that was, and I'm not here to pick on him, I don't see him here, but I would like for him to be here because I don't like to talk about nobody without them being here. But it was Charlie DeBruce though. I had a problem with him. This city here, all municipalities really, you are funded by the state. And one of the clauses in that deal is a non-discriminatory work area. I hate to say this here. I grew up in the city here. I came here from Jacksonville, Florida in 1959. I went to Breakaway Elementary, one of the oldest schools that was here.
Before it burned down.
Before it burned down,
Yeah.
that's right. I was one of the first four-year graduates of Deerfield High School. So I take pride in the city here. My grandfather had a business on the north end of the city, a place called the Blue Chip Bar. He had the little cafe and all that.
Did he have the blue chip?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I remember the blue chip.
Okay. I'm saying that to say that I take pride in working for this city. But the problem that I was being faced with, I went to the Human Resource Director. I went to Carl Peterson, who was the Director of Public Works at the time, and we had a city manager at the time. His name was
Mahaney.
Mahaney, right.
Right.
He brought in Charlie DeBruce though. And when he brought in Charlie DeBruce though, somehow or another they became so close to wherein he made promise to Charlie DeBruce though that he would take over the whole public works and environmental service. Mr. DeBruce though, I want to say is a good guy, but he had his faults, he had his negative don't know how to work in an environment where there's lots of people. We have to watch what we say to people, we have to watch what we say to the residents, we have to watch the way that we do things, because why? This is not our rules that are being set in the city here. It's civil service rules, it's municipality rules. But I do remember that when human resource director came in, which is Mr. Melanowski there, when he came in, I requested a meeting with him within the first week that he came here, thinking that I could solve this problem between me and Mr. LaBrusto, sit down, we can bridge whatever gap that we had within the city and come and work together. I was surprised and I was shocked because when Mr. Melanowski came over there, all due respect to you, brother, I love you as a brother, but you really mistreated me. Because I sat down and I spoke with you. I told you about the problem.
Andrew, let's not get into personalities.
No, but I'm just trying to show you where morale has gone in the city here.
I know where the morale is, it's in the bottom, it's in the.
That's so true, ma'am. It's like we're so, and I'm not a budget director or nothing like that, but we're so top heavy here that we don't have the employees to actually go out there and actually do the work. The majority of us, 80% of us, we live here in Deerfield, so we took pride in the place that we were working at, because why? We beautified our own community. We doing what the resident want to have done, what we want to have done. We like the awards that the city gets because of the work that we done and stuff like that. But for some reason or another, they came in and they just took morale and just throwed it out the door. Nobody know how to respect or talk to a person in the proper manner so that a person would be proud of the work that they go and do. When I came up, it used to be a commercial on TV. And that commercial used to be about signing the work that you do. You would take more pride in that work because your name is on that work there. And it makes you feel good about things like that. But for some reason or another, people have came into the city here from other places and stuff like that, not really caring about the city, only caring about the paycheck that they make. And that is so sad because why? Deerfield is a good place, always has been, always has been.
And the little people are the ones that keep the city running.
But those are the people that they run over though. Those are the people that get stepped on in this city here. And it should not be that way. We are all here to serve the residents. But we are all governed by civil service rules and regulations.
But
And when you throw them out.
Andrew, they discontinued the civil service in the city.
Yes, ma'am, I know that. I know that, yeah. But when you throw civil service rules and regulations, when you throw any kind of rules and regulations out, I listen to people talk about the environment now, and environment services, oh, how we need to get rid of the environment, they stop this job from coming through and that job from coming through. If we don't have nobody to keep us accountable, or everybody don't have a heart, and if you don't have nobody to keep you accountable, people do anything. Don't even much care about the work that they leave behind. You hear so many people say, oh, well, that's good for government work. It wasn't that way with me. Some of the guys I used to supervise are here now. And I used to tell them all the time, they go out there, we do a good job. I want to thank y'all because y'all make me look good. When y'all make me look good, I make Mr. LaBrusto look good. When Mr. LaBrusto look good, you make the city manager look good. It goes on and on and on. But nobody thought on those terms there. So I just want to come and say that this city here is a great city, but we need to find some people to come back into the city here that will lift the morale of the employees here. We're not saying allow people to just run over you or nothing like that, but we need people in the city here that will take pride in the work that they do. And you still have a lot of people here that do that there, but you only have a few of them now. You take a department that was like maybe 10 or 15 strong, and you have 7 people in there. Guess what? Those 7 people now got to carry the load of all the other people that's been gone. And I just want to say that maybe that's something that the city needs to pay some serious attention to, simply because of the fact you got good employees here. You just need somebody that they respect, and they know that respect them, so that when they go out there and do a job, it's appreciated.
Thank you.
It's not all about a check.
Thank you. The one thing the city of Deerfield has not had is a stormwater maintenance fee. most every other city actually in the county has that fee. It comes to about $3 on your water bill, and it's used to clean the canals. That's what it's for. And that's what the city's going to have to institute in order to start cleaning up the messes that are in some of our canals.